Welcome to the Downtown Madison Happenings podcast, where we hear from our members and learn something new about downtown Madison. This podcast is brought to you by American Family Insurance. American Family opened its first offices in downtown Madison in 1927, and its downtown presence continues today with the Spark Building, which is home to the American and Family Insurance Institute for Corporate and Social Impact, and the Dream Bank, an inspirational community space. Still based in Madison, the company's mission to inspire, protect, restore dreams through exceptional products, service, and community partnerships. On today's Downtown Madison Happenings podcast, we have Angela Titus, the Assistant Deputy Director and Chief Program Officer of the Wisconsin Historical Society. And boy, do we have a great conversation in store for you today. Angela, how are you doing?
I'm great. It's so great to see you, Jason. Thanks for having me on the pod. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't know Angela, get to know Angela. She's doing fantastic things in our community and for the Historical Society. So let's dive right in and get to know Angela. Now, Angela, you've been with the Historical Society, can't believe this, 2.5 years now. And prior to that, you were in San Diego with various roles, the San Diego Zoo, United Way, and many other places. Why did you decide that this was a great opportunity 2.5 years ago to work with the Wisconsin Historical Society?
Well, the Historical Society has a phenomenal collection that's really well known in academic circles, but I think not so widely known by the average person. And the collection is just so vast and impressive. And I think there's a lot of knowledge that we can draw from it, just as average folks, to give context to what we're experiencing today, kind of learning. If you think about what people learned about this pandemic and what happened in the 1918 pandemic, people are looking back sometimes at history for information and context, right? And this society is one of the largest, most diverse in the entire country. And we have a lot of great American objects in our collection, which people don't know. They think it's only things from Wisconsin, but it's actually in statute. We have a really broad and wonderful collection. So being part of sharing that with the public, for me, was just a really exciting opportunity. And the biggest part of that is we're building a new history center downtown on the Capitol. So a number of us have joined the society in the last couple of years to work on that project. So it's been really fun to embark on that. We're actually in the middle of the whole thing right now.
This is an exciting project. We will certainly get to that in a little bit, because it's going to dynamically change the top of State Street there. And it already is the most used pedestrian intersection in the state of Wisconsin. And what an amazing museum this will be. But, the mission of the Wisconsin Historical Society is to collect, preserve, and share stories. And you are only one of the entities that do share stories. There are so many great community historians. We'd love to hear, how do you collect these stories and how do you amplify the stories of other folks throughout our entire state?
You are so right? We may have all the stuff, but we don't have all the knowledge. And so while the collection is vast, the interpretation and the telling of those stories, there's so many people around the state who can do that. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We recently have been doing an Ojibwe storytelling series during the winter months, which is typically when that happens in their culture. And so we've had 8,000 to 10,000 people from around the country, from California to Minnesota, Massachusetts, DC, everywhere, tuning in for our Wisconsin storytelling time with the elders from the Ojibwe community, sharing their history and culture. And so that's an example of where there's vast community knowledge that is entirely appropriate for them to tell that story. So one of our staff members, who's Bad River, she helped organize this. And so it was just a wonderful, organically developed program that became really popular. And so we repeated it this year and got the same kind of reception. So that's one example of how we do that. I think another one, because we're in Black History Month, is that we have a Black History walking tour that I put together a couple of years ago when I was reading a book. Muriel Sims did a book on Madison's early African-American families. And there are about 25 families, I think, featured in this book. And it's from folks from the 1800s, like the gentleman behind me, who was Benjamin Butts. He came here in the 1800s, and he became a very influential person in the African American community in Madison. Started his own barbershop. He worked at the assembly, got to know all the political elites. And I don't know about you, but when I go to the hair salon, that's where all the conversation happens, and we get all the news, and you really learn, and you meet a lot of impressive people there. And so in his barbershop, that's exactly what happened. And he developed these really great relationships that we were smart enough to hire him at the Wisconsin Historical Society so we could benefit from his network and relationships. So he worked for us for 30 years. And so his house that he and his wife Amy had is one of the stops on this Black History walking tour, as well as a really cool one, which is at the corner of Pinckney and Washington. There used to be a hotel called the American House, and it was owned by John and Beverly Jefferson, who were grandkids of Thomas Jefferson. So that's one of the really surprising things for people when they take that tour. So the Jefferson boys came here from Virginia by way of Ohio. And when they got to Wisconsin, they decided to, use an inheritance they got from their father, and bought the hotel and ran it for a while. And they actually ran what they call the Jefferson Transfer Line, which is the largest omnibus line in Madison, taking you all over the town. And spent a lot of time building that business up. So they were great entrepreneurs. And I think a lot of people just, that knowledge got lost, right, of who they were, where their hotel was. There's actually a really cool ad that they ran showing their hotel and, kind of touting all the wonderful things that you get when you stay at the hotel. And that was in the Madison City Directory from 1858. And it's just a really cool ad to see. So those are a couple examples of what's on that Black History walking tour. So I encourage people to sign up for that when it's available again, when it's a tiny bit warmer. We'll bring that back in the summer so folks can enjoy learning about that community that lived all around East Dayton and Johnson and all those connected streets. It was a really vibrant community of families. So those are a couple of examples, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, huge kudos to you and the team at the Historical Society for this tour. If you haven't been on the Madison Black History Walking Tour, it is phenomenal. It really is centered around the east side of downtown. And these examples you talk about, Hill Grocery and Benny Butts and Jefferson Brothers, right? Grandchildren, Sally Heming and Thomas Jefferson with the Black, it's right on the Capitol here. But this story continues today, right? And we will hopefully see the erection of the Belle Phillips statue, which will be
that's right
statue of a BIPOC woman on any state capitol grounds in America here soon. So
phenomenal.
Going to tell these stories, right?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And she was a woman of first, right? A first of everything. And we actually have her papers in our collection, and she also donated her Common Council desk from Milwaukee and a number of other things. So it will be really great to be able to start sharing a lot of those things proactively with the rest of the state. But super excited for that statue to go up and commemorate her accomplishments.
Wow, and thank you again for this tour. We'll make sure to get more information to all of our listeners. We're trying to make this more accessible for more people to be able to do it anytime, because this history is here and it's with us. All right, let's get to the historical museum, right? This is an amazing at the top of State Street. You all are deep in the process of creating this new space. Let's talk about it. What do you hope to see with this great new space at the corners of State Street, Carroll, and Mifflin?
Well, one of the things I think that will be wonderful is that this collection I talked about so much at the beginning of our talk here, we'll get to share more of it, because in the current footprint, it's small. It's a former hardware store. It's very limited. So we'll be able to have 100,000 square foot building, which a decent amount of that will be for exhibits. And then we also will be bringing in lots of public programming. So extending what people see and learn about in the galleries will be talks and, interpretations, stories, There'll probably some music in there, right? I think artists are some of our most powerful storytellers. And so how do we bring all of those different forms of storytelling into the mix? There's an incredible film collection, a massive image collection, and obviously many objects and artifacts. So being able to share more of that, I think, is going to be one of the really exciting things, because some of them are tucked away safely in a state archive preservation facility, which is not a publicly open because it's literally a safe, a brown unmarked building where we keep the valuable things. And so we're stewards of all that, but we want to be sharing that with the state because it is their stuff. It's not our stuff, right? We're the stewards. So I think that's one of the most exciting things. And what's different from the current museum is that we'll be able to do a lot more public programming. We'll have a lot of really neat spaces throughout the building to welcome everyone in. That's one of the key things we want, is for this to be a welcoming community space. We've been working with some scholars, and one of them described it as kind of Wisconsin's living room. And that's exactly what we want to go for, is having people feel comfortable walking in, dropping in to shop or to see the community gallery, which will be free, or what have you, meet a friend, as a spot. So really welcoming, inclusive, and accessible space, and bigger.
I love that concept of Wisconsin's living room. And we're just so thankful that it's here in downtown Madison. But a lot of that is about the programming you're going to do in the space. And that is really your bellywork. That's what you specialize. So what the future of programming is going to be with this amazing new space, not just this space here, but I'd love to also hear that, plus new programming throughout our communities, being in Madison, but, Racine to Superior to, La Crosse to Door County. Why could I not?
Yeah, Door County,
Yes,
which
they're Door County. Yeah.
So one of the things when we're closed, while we're building this new building, is from 23 through 26, we're going to be doing sort of a museum without walls project. We need to give it a fun name. That's not what it's called, but we're going to be taking our show on the road, literally, and going around the entire state over that 3 to 4 year period, starting here in the south central region of Wisconsin. So we'll launch in Madison this fall, and then we will go to the southeast. So you'll see us in some of the cities you just mentioned, and then we'll just kind of carry on from there. And the idea is to share some of the collections, the items that are okay for us to take on the road, and bring those into communities, and also bring new programming that we want to test. It's a great opportunity to prototype things, get community feedback, and really get community collaboration. Like, we want their brains working with us to determine how do we best serve them? What's the most engaging way to hear this information? So truly trying to be participatory, not just kind of reach out to people, but really collaborate and build things together. So we're in conversation with many potential partners around the state right now, some of our local history affiliates, cultural organizations, and local institutions, individual artists, and community members who have knowledge. So we're talking to a lot of folks. We're doing outreach to educators, to our tribal nations counterparts, as well as tribal community members, talking to folks in the African American community, Hmong community. We're doing a lot of talking right now and a lot of listening, really, to hear how we can serve people. And then we'll be able to do, whether it's an author signing or panel discussions, focusing on civics, I think will be really important. How do we reach young people and give them that grounding that they need as they grow? And then just lifelong learners and history buffs like us, right, who want to learn neat things, and they'll be looking for kind of educational or even edutainment type of things, right? But how do we make history engaging and fun, and really, again, be relevant to what people are living through today? How do we give context to things and explain things? And so that's the fun part for our team. We've been having a really good time, like, ideating on these things, and we're talking to our community members and getting their feedback, and we'll continue to do that. That's the intent is for the History Center to be this hub and radiating out across the entire state with virtual programming, and then also having programming coming in from different parts of the state into Madison, right? So it's not a one-way street. So kind of this hub and spoke concept where we again are sharing knowledge that's all around the state, and we're just the hub of that. So that's the goal behind it. And as you said, we are knee deep in designing exhibits and programming and the outside of the building as well. So a lot going on. Yesterday, we just announced our transitional space that's opening up on the Capitol Square, so we can continue to serve school groups in the spring. And then we'll again put more programming, and it's a place where people can come and hear progress on the new building. So lots going on.
Yeah, lots going on, but you
in
really
summary,
have a cool, I know.
going on.
To sum up this whole podcast, Angela's quite busy, but you did a really amazing job, honestly, a really cool job to be able to help tell everyone's stories and do it in such different ways, and to do it in obviously the large museum, and to know you're going to remain on the Capitol Square interim, but you tell these stories in so many different ways with so many different mediums. Yeah, it's really cool, and it's really cool to have you in this position to be able to do this.
It's been a lot of fun, and I've been meeting a lot of really talented Madisonians and newly arrived Madisonians, and everyone's just been really receptive and just encouraged and excited about what this new History Center will do, and especially about the fact that we'll be going out into the communities around the state. So really can't say what we're doing in Madison yet to launch, but we're cooking something up. Hopefully we'll bake a very nice cake, but we'll see how it goes.
I like the tease. I like the tease. Speaking of teases too, though, we are going to be bringing in the folks, Angela and Christian Overland, in here in DMI in a few months to make sure that our membership understands, what's going to happen with the actual building itself, right? And to see the rendering, which I know are coming out very soon. So pay attention to the DMI calendar. We'll have some more information soon. All right, Angela. Surprise. I've got a surprise for you.
Oh, what's that?
Didn't tell you about this beforehand. Our Fast and Furious 5. I'm going to ask 5 simple questions, and you just give the answer that comes to top of your mind.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, you got this. Okay. What is your favorite history museum in the entire world?
I'm going to have to say the Smithsonian's newest museum, the Museum of African American History and Culture. Phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. I'm in DC in just a couple of weeks, and you told me to go again. So
we're working with the same exhibit designers and architects that did that building. So I'm super, super stoked about that.
Awesome. All right. What's your favorite restaurant downtown?
Downtown.
You can say wherever. It doesn't have to be downtown. We'll be slightly offended.
Okay. Okay, because I was going to say Pig in Her Fur Coat. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's downtown. No, that's downtown.
Close enough, right? Okay.
Yeah, no, we consider that downtown.
Okay, excellent.
Good. That's a good answer. All right. What's your favorite hidden gem downtown? Something you discovered and you're like, this is really cool.
Again, I didn't know. I don't know if you call this downtown, but Ravinia Courtyard.
Downtown. Yes, definitely.
Really cool space in there. We had a little holiday party in there, and I just was like, wow, look at you, Madison. Wonderful.
Well, and I don't know if you've been there lately. There's a brand new hotel by NCG, the Moxie, that's going up right next to it. And then
nice.
Building over it, the city's largest timber frame housing, 15-story, the Neutral project is going up. So that's a busy block.
That's really cool. We could use a few more boutique museums and hotels here. Yeah. Yes. Like the Indigo's right there, which is great. And like that Moxie will be a great addition.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Oh yeah, it's all me. This was all me.
You did that, right?
What's your favorite Madison festival?
Madison Festival.
Here, so you've seen the seasons.
I don't know that I've been to any yet, because when I got here, everybody was in their homes, and so I think the concert on the square is the one thing I've gone to that I thought was really cool, and the farmers market, obviously lovely. Now, coming from California, I appreciate a farmer's market, and that's a really great one. So
Yeah.
not a
You know,
festival.
not to pump up downtown Madison, you know, but it is the largest locally produced farmers market in the country. So
Is that so?
well, that's what someone told me, and I that so
It's really
now a
good.
fact.
It's really good. The cheese bread is amazing.
Well, some good and exciting news coming from them too soon here. All right, you have a day off in Madison, and you've got a friend from out of town with you. What do you do on that day off? Where do you take them?
Wow, that's a great question. I think doing one of those trails that goes around the lakes, and I live on the east side, and so, you know, going over Monona there, and it's you can go through the botanical garden, and that's one of the places I always, anybody comes to visit me, and I've had a few guests, I always take them to the botanical gardens. I think it's just really beautifully done and a nice little gem. So it's a good halfway stop on a little trail there. So that's what I would say.
Well, thank you for just bringing up the botanical gardens, because, you know, we're in the depths of winter. So even just thinking about outside right now, it's, yeah, we're ready for it.
Yes.
You get the chance to ask me one question.
Hmm.
There is one for me. Notice I
Um,
four there, but yes.
I would ask you, what's your favorite festival here, since I have not gone to any?
It's
What would
hard to
you
say
recommend?
it's hard to play favorites. I'm gonna probably upset some.
I'll say one of your favorites then.
You know, I really like La Fête de Marquette. La Fête de Marquette
Mhm.
Festival on the east side in down the downtown area.
Yeah,
It's just very diverse music, food. They really do a great job, and people just really
cool.
have a good time.
Nice. That's
Yes.
right in my neighborhood. So
Yes, right there.
I'll have
Orton
to.
Art and Park Festival. There's a lot of good festivals in that.
Excellent. Thank you for the
Yeah,
tip.
you're very welcome. And sorry that I just upset Taste of Madison. I just concerts on the square,
You can blame it on
Cars
me.
on State, Maxwell Street Days. They're all great. They're all
Good save. Good save, Jason.
Thank you so much to Angela Titus, the Assistant Deputy Director and Chief Programming Officer for the Wisconsin Historical Society. And we said it in the middle of the meeting, or the middle of the podcast, she really is busy doing great things for Madison. Thank you so much for all you're doing for downtown and our entire state, and really helping tell our community stories to everybody.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you again soon for the
Jason.
Happenings podcast, brought to you by American Family. Thank you so much, and we'll see you downtown.